Welcome to the Appendix, where we read the primary sources of the past so that you can better understand the present. Today's primary source, Petition of London Merchants Against the Stamp Act, January 17, 1766. The American policy of non-importation had severely injured English trade, and Parliament received numerous petitions from merchants throughout the kingdom urging the repeal of the act. A petition of merchants of London trading to North America was presented to the House and read, setting forth that the petitioners have been long concerned in carrying on the trade between this country and the British colonies on the continent of North America, and that they have annually exported very large quantities of British manufacturers consisting of woolen goods of all kind, cotton, linen, hardware, shoes, household furniture, and almost without exception of every other species of goods manufactured in those kingdoms, besides other articles imported from abroad, chiefly purchased with our manufactures and with the produce of our colonies, but all which many thousand manufacturers, seamen, and laborers have been employed to the very great and increasing benefit of this nation, and that in return for these exports the petitioners have received from the colonies rice, indigo, tobacco, naval stores, oil fins, furs, and lately potash, with other commodities, remittance by bills of exchange and bullion, obtained by the colonists in payment for articles of their produce not required for the British market, and therefore exported to other places, and that from the nature of this trade, consisting of British manufacturers exported, and of all the import of raw materials from America, many of them used in our manufacturers, and all of them tending to lessen our dependence on neighboring states, it must be deemed of the highest importance in the commercial system of this nation, and that this commerce so beneficial to the state and so necessary for the support of multitude now lies under such difficulties and discouragement that nothing less than its utter ruin is apprehended without the immediate interposition of Parliament, and that in consequence of the trade between the colonies and the mother country, as established and as permitted for many years, and of the experience which the petitioners have had of the readiness of the Americans to make their just remittances to the utmost of their real ability, they have been induced to make and venture such large exportations of British manufactures as to leave the colonies indebted to the merchants of Great Britain in the sum of several millions sterling, and that at this time the colonists, when pressed for payment, appealed to past experience in proof of their willingness, but declare it is not in their power at present to make good their engagements, aligning that the taxes and restrictions laid upon them, and the extension of the jurisdiction of vice-admiralty courts established by some late acts of Parliament, particularly by an act passed in the 4th year of His present Majesty for granting certain duties in the British colonies and plantations in America, and by an act passed in the 5th year of His present Majesty for granting and applying certain stamp duties and other duties in the British colonies and plantations in America, with several regulations and restraints, which, if founded in acts of Parliament for defined purposes, are represented to have been extended in such a manner as to disturb legal commerce and harass the fair trader, as for far interrupted the usual and former most fruitful branches of their commerce, restrained the sale of their produce, thrown the state of the several provinces into confusion, and brought on so great a number of actual bankruptcies that the former opportunities and means of remittances and payments are utterly lost and taken from them, and that the petitioners are, by these unhappy events, reduced to the necessity of applying to the House in order to secure themselves and their families from impending ruin, to prevent a multitude of manufacturers from becoming a burden to the community, or else seeking their bread in other countries, to the irretrievable loss of this kingdom, and to preserve the strength of this nation entire, its commerce flourishing, the revenues increasing our navigation, the bulwark of the kingdom in a state of growth and extension, and the colonies from inclination, duty, and interest firmly attached to the mother country, and therefore praying the consideration of the premises, and entreating such relief as to the House shall seem expedient. Thank you for joining us for our primary source today on the appendix. We will see you in the stacks.